Times we're in situations where our sales manager sucks. A lot of sales managers are people who were exceptional at sales that were put into management because that was the only promotional option. So I think number one, you just need to embrace reality. Okay, so boo-hoo, you got a bad boss. You're one of a million people. Figure out, first of all, sit down with your boss and get clear on your expectations. You need to figure out what he or she really wants from you. What are they looking to? Because as Mark said, every sales manager is different. They're motivated by different things. They want different things. So take the bull by the horns and figure out what their expectations are. Then once you know that, create a plan of how you're going to get there. If your sales manager is somebody who isn't coaching you or maybe doesn't have the skills to do it, then go find people who do. You don't have to be coached or led by your sales manager. You only have to be accountable to them. So you can get the training and the things that you need from other people around you. But my tips are to embrace reality, just understand it. It's, part of one of the, thrills of being in the business. The second is get clear on the expectations. Don't assume you know what they want. And then figure out what you need in order to achieve those goals. The last thing I'm going to say is keep your manager informed of your progress. If they're not managing you, you manage them. You ask that you meet with them at least on a weekly basis and say, hey, here are the things I'm working on. Here are the things that I'm doing. So in other words, I guess what I'm saying is take charge of the situation.
I'm going to add to that, communicate to them on their terms. I had a boss that I couldn't stand. And one of the things I found out is because I was always communicating with him late in the afternoon when he was grumpy and just tired. And it was amazing by simply shifting and having my communication with him first thing in the morning. It was awkward for me, but you know what? He was in a much better mood. Same thing with, you may have a boss that prefers voicemail over email or telephone or face-to-face. Communicate this just like a customer. Communicate with them on their terms using their best medium. And it's amazing how you'll change things.
Yeah. I would also add that you need to articulate what it is that you need from them. Now, don't get your expectations too high because they may not fulfill those needs, but at least ask for what you want and ask for what you need. And if they give it to you, great. If they don't, again, go out there and find somebody else who can do that. I mean, I guess the bottom line is please don't make your sales manager your excuse for why you can't be successful at sales.
Oh, that's huge. And I'm going to add one more piece on that. And that is ask others on the team, what do they think of the person? Now, it's not to create a conspiracy theory, but is your opinion just an outlier? And maybe it's something you've got to change on your end.
Great. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the topic, for today. So the topic on the table is, what do you do when your sales pipeline is not moving, when it's stuck? Mark, what are your ideas and strategies for that?
Hustle. Okay, here's what it simply comes down to. When people say their pipeline is dry, I always ask them, how much time have you spent prospecting in the previous 30, 45, 60, 90 days? And invariably what it comes down to is they have not been prospecting, or if they have been prospecting, they have not been prospecting really against their ICP, their ideal customer profile, their avatar, their persona, whoever it is, but that perfect person. When your pipeline is not moving, also, you got to look at, okay, what's in my pipeline? And maybe you just need a big giant plunger to flush some of that stuff through. And what do I mean by that? You may have some people in your pipeline that really should not be there. If they're not moving the decision forward, if they don't have the capability to move the decision forward, get them out of there. I would much rather have fewer people in my pipeline, but being able to move them closer to closing the deal, opening the relationship, than having a whole lot of people in there that aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think cleaning your pipeline is your very first step. I mean, get real, get honest. And if your pipeline's not moving, you've got some people in there that probably don't need to be in your pipeline. The other thing is that I think you need to go back and really create some criteria around your pipeline. Literally, there are reasons that your clients and deals close. Number one, you're talking to the decision maker. Number two, their sense of urgency to buy is high. They have a deep desire for your product or service. Your pricing is within their budget. They don't have strong connections to other competitors or things like that. But go back through and really look at the criteria that you're grading this pipeline against, and really ask yourself if those people meet the criteria. In other words, you may have people in there that you're assuming are going to close, and it may take another year for that deal to close. So go back through and really adjust the criteria to figure out really where they are in the sales price process, and other things that you need to do, other criteria you need to meet in order to get that deal to close.
I like what you said there. And I ran into a person as well, my pipeline's plugged, and his response was, I'm just going to get a bigger pipeline. I got to make more stages, more cycles, more. No, it's not. Many times it's not more activity. It's not more criteria as to how to score your prospect. It's really making it easier for them to do business with you. Because what you got to do is, first of all, I look at the bottom, look at the stuff that is closest to your closing stage. What is it that I can do to bring them over the top, to bring them through? And many times what that comes down to is simplifying the offer, making it easier for them, go back to what you're saying, the decision maker, pull that stuff through. And there's something amazing that happens when you start pulling deals through. It's amazing how other deals start pulling through. It's not that the customers are talking to one another. No, you're seeing things differently. And it's amazing. The pipeline is not moving because you're not moving.
Yeah, I really do think that timeline is really huge. Mark, it makes me think about what you and I do for a living as it relates to speaking on stages. I was just going through and deciding who I was going to focus on for fourth quarter. And I have a lot of really good leads, but their meetings are in for fourth quarter, which means they're having conferences and events virtual, but they're doing it right now. They won't be to the decision-making point until first or second quarter of next year. I don't need to call on them right now because they're busy with their current meeting, their current event. They don't have a need of my services. So a lot of times when your pipeline is stuck, it's because your timing is off. And are you really clear on when the customer is looking to buy, when they're looking to make a decision, and the level to which what you're selling is a priority for them? If you don't understand that, then they don't make it into your pipeline effectively.
And that really comes down to understanding who your customer is, knowing who your customer is and what are the outcomes that you create. I have watched so many salespeople who sell multi-year contracts, and they're sitting there spending all of their effort trying to prospect and trying to close deals where the prospect is under contract. The customer is under contract with somebody else for another 2-3 years. Don't waste your time. Your time is your most valuable resource. Use it wisely. Don't sit there and think that I'm going to unplug it by just jamming more stuff into the top of the pipeline. It's not going to happen.
I would also say if your pipeline is stuck, you haven't given yourself any low-hanging fruit. I mean, I'm a big believer that a pipeline should be split in at least thirds. A third of it should be business that you really want, that is kind of a wish list type of business that you're going to have to really do a ton of work to move. A third of it ought to be existing customers or people that, maybe you just lost a deal to before, but you have a higher likelihood of winning that business and winning it quickly. And a third ought to be referral sources, because when referral sources refer business to you, that's business that moves quickly. So give yourself a shot by balancing your pipeline so that you've got some low-hanging fruit and some easy wins in there that'll keep your motivation up and your energy up to keep going after that tougher, slower business.
Yeah, there's nothing like having a pipeline filled with elephants. You put a couple elephants in your pipeline and hey, they may be great to close, but you're going to starve to death in the 2 years it's going to take for them to close. You have to be able to eat today. And I love what you said. There's always business to be had out there if you're willing to think a little bit differently. And that's what I just, it drives me nuts when people say, oh, there's no business out there. No, there is plenty of business. You just got to think. And if all of your competition is doing a yin, then it's time for you to do a yang. Because what's going to separate you if you're doing the yin with them? Nothing. Do the yang. Go in a different direction.
Great point. All right, I think it's time we get to the lightning round and start to move to closing this show up. But I hope we've given you some valuable tips. But our lightning round, Mark, I put this on here, but I got to tell you, this is one of my pet peeves. But I think it's important. How do you fix a dry pipeline fast? I mean, I would prefer you never let that pipeline get dry. But hey, we have all been there, right? So what do you do? What are some tips and strategies to fill a dry pipeline fast?
Come back to all your existing customers. Be asking them for referrals. Be asking them for other people that you can be reaching out to.
Yeah, I would say to tap your referral sources, to go out to those referral sources, let them know that you're looking for business, exactly who you're looking for, and to share that information.
I'm going to go back to all my old customers, all my customers who are no longer buying from me. I'm going to circle back, and I can probably get them back in, at least some of them.
Yeah, I would go out to anybody that had lost a deal with within the last year or two. Just check back in and see if they are happy with the person that they're dealing with. It's great to be the person on second base. So often you get to hit the home run. So go back and check those customers out.
I'm going to take all my current customers. I'm going to put them into Google, and I'm going to see who their competitors are. Who do they compete with? Guess what? Chances are my service, my product is going to work for them also. So I'm going to start reaching out to them right away.
Great. I would start increasing the number of calls that I'm making every single day. I would, if you have a dry pipeline, it's because you're not making enough sales calls. So you need to increase the number of sales calls and the quality of calls that you're making. You need to do a better job of focusing on the right target. Mark, give us one more.
I'm going to create a couple of partnerships. I'm going to create a partnership with other people where I'm going to help carry your product service. You're going to help carry mine.
Oh, that's a great one. Well, Mark, it has been another fantastic show. Why don't we wrap this? Oh, you know what? I almost forgot the most important part, the book of the day. I love this book called The Modern Seller by Amy Franko. And one reason I love it is because Amy wrote this book. She wrote it before COVID happened, but she really talked about what it takes to really sell in today's marketplace. And she breaks it down into 5 categories. And it's everything that you need to know to sell virtually, to be effective virtually, to build those relationships, build the connections, outpace your competition. And here's another thing. It is such an easy read. Look how nice and thin it is. So go to amyfranko.com and check out The Modern Seller.
Hey, that is a great book. I've known her for years. In fact, I just retweeted one of her tweets this morning. She's incredibly sharp. Get the book, The Modern Seller. So with that, we should go ahead and shut down this episode. So I'm going to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meredith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
That's a wrap. Great show, Mark.
Most people refer to VanillaSoft as the solution. It's the solution to ensure sales reps make the right number of attempts for every lead across all channels, including email, social, and the phone. It's the solution to serve the rep the next best lead every single time. You need to